find the cheat sheet here.
Here, use mine.
Wait, okay. Got it. Ms. Baker said she was right there. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Newton County Board of Education work session. We're going to start the afternoon off with a invocation by Mrs. Coggin, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow your head. Our Father, as we come to you on this monumental day in our nation's history, we ask that this meeting be blessed by your presence. May we who meet be blessed with your wisdom, and the communities who we represent be blessed with your hope. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Coggin. Any special recognition?
We have some. Yes, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, there are special recognitions tonight. I'd like to begin with West Newton's third grade teaching team and ask those teaching team members to come forward and meet the board president right in front here. Come on down. Members of West Newton's third grade team recently won $2,000 in the ING Unsung Heroes Grant competition to create a BLAST lab, bringing life and sciences together, BLAST. Those teachers are Tracy Clay, Lakia Williams, Kelly Keaton, David Baker, Chansley Wren, and Jessica Weaver. The team was one of only 100 finalists in the nation to win a $2,000 ING grant, and only one of two in Georgia. The lab that teachers will create will allow the students to have hands-on activities relating to the science standards in hopes of increasing science CRCT results. Students can make connections between the real-world experiences and the classroom, hence the name BLAST, bringing life and science together. According to their grant application, the lab will be stocked with a variety of materials and literature that will enhance the student's science learning experience. It will also feature a computer station for research and the creation of a class newsletter and wiki. Students will utilize an interactive workbook where they will note findings from their experiments and observations. The workbook will also be used to chronicle explanations of new learning and to make connections to prior knowledge, which can be used as a reference guide in the future. In the lab, students will create a diorama of 5 Georgia habitats examining the effects of weathering and erosion. They will also create their own fossils, observe the differences in various types of rocks, as well as learn about temperature, magnetism, and the effects of pollution. The team is now in the running for one of the 3 top ING grants of $5,000, $10,000, and $25,000. If they win one of those grants, they will expand the lab for use in other grades at West Newton. Congratulations to each of you, and thank you for what you do for our children. Let's give them a round of applause. And also with us tonight is their principal, Tequila Curry. Dr. Curry, would you please stand? Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Curry. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see our next employee that we intended to recognize. Shall we wait till another time? Okay, let's wait. Okay, go ahead. That concludes our recognitions tonight, Mr. Chairman. Ma'am? Yes, and Ms. Davis Vineyard has appropriately reminded me, Mr. Chairman, of asking you, please, sir, to offer a moment of silence in recognition of the victims of 9/11.
Let's bow our heads, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now we'll go to our next topic, public participation.
Public participation is the time that the board has set aside to encourage you as members of our community to voice your opinion on any matter, either included on or excluded from the printed agenda. A maximum time of 5 minutes will be allotted to a single individual or a single topic based on the number of requests. Complaints against any employee of the school system will not be heard unless the complaint has been submitted in writing to the superintendent at least 7 days prior to the board meeting. If unresolved, any personal complaints about school personnel must be put in writing for the board to review in executive session. Personal attacks against any member of the board will not be tolerated. Once the time for public participation has passed, discussion of topics will be restricted to board members only. Thank you in advance for complying with this request. Do you want to go here or here?
No, she's here.
Brittany Blakeman?
Yes. So the policy that, I'm sorry. This is my first time. So I wanted to discuss a handbook policy that came home with my sons at Rocky Plains the first day of school. I spoke with Mr. Darren Berry, and he informed me that it's not just a Rocky Plains policy, but it's a county policy. And it falls under the dress code. I have some concerns with the dress code, but primarily my concern is with the hair policy. It states, not verbatim, but that, you know, children cannot attend school with extreme hair color, feathers in their hair, mohawks, and any other material, things of that nature. My concern with that policy is that it legally, I believe it's a violation of freedom of expression. And then I also have a concern that developmentally for self-identity, self-concept, that is a hindrance, as well as social acceptance. And I understand that the concern is that it's a distraction in the classroom. I feel that it would possibly be a distraction because we're not where we need to be with social diversity and acceptance, and that we need to foster that rather than going in the opposite direction of continuing to put up, you know, walls and rules and boundaries that would hinder their freedom of expression and identity in who they are. I am a CDA certified. If you're not familiar, that's Child Development Associate certification, recognized by NACE, the National Education for Youth for Education Association, something along those lines. As of the end of this year, 2012, every child care provider, I believe nationally, will have to be CDA certified in order to provide care. So these are the providers that are, you know, fostering the care of the children outside of the school before they get into the system, or, you know, after hours, or or wherever they may have a need, you know, for child care services outside of the public school system. So I wanted to read something that is in the training manual for that certification, and it's from the principles from the Code of Ethical Conduct. And it says, "We shall care for and educate children in positive emotional and social environments that are cognitively stimulating and that support each child's culture, language, ethnicity, and family structure." Also, I wanted to read under a developmental section, it says, "As early childhood educators, we must always be aware that our attitudes towards diversity are imprinted on the children we work with, from stereotypical roles for males and females to accepting cultures other than our own. We give our values to our children through our attitudes and actions. In a quality school, educators strive to help children go beyond accepting differences and focus on applauding the individuality that makes us all unique." And that's what I would like to see, you know, change there with that. And under the code as well, it says when a program violates or requires its employees to violate this code, it is permissible after fair assessment of the evidence to disclose the identity of that program. When policies are enacted for purposes that do not benefit children, we have a collective responsibility to work to change these practices. So that's why I'm here today. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Blakeman. Next, public participant, it would be Mr. Hunter.
I want to ask
Oh.
her a question.
Sorry.
Mrs., is it Blakeman?
Blakeman.
Okay, because you had communicated this concern as well to me. And I think you contacted Phil Hartley
Yes.
at GSBA, attorney.
Yes.
Did he get back with you yet?
No. I heard from Dr. Matthews today that he should be contacting me back.
Okay.
Hopefully today, but I haven't heard from him as of yet.
Okay. Had you contacted him before you called me that 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yes.
So-
The person I contacted first was Darren Berry. And-
Right.
Yes, and that's when I was informed that the board was gonna be seeking outside, consultation from a legal attorney to, go over policies and see what changes wanted to be made and that sort of thing. And so that, at that point, I contacted Dr. Hartley, well, not Dr. Attorney Hartley, and then yourself.
And you've not heard since those weeks from him? Okay.
But I did not leave that message with him personally.
We have Dr. Matthews want to respond here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For clarity purposes, I believe the policy or the handbook rule to which you refer says a number of things, inclusive of the following paragraph. No extremes in dress and/or grooming will be permitted. Examples include unusual hair colors, design or cuts in oversized pants or shirts. So that's the clause that she's referring to. We will seek some advice from Attorney Phil Hartley. I'm sorry he's not called you back yet. He is one of the busiest attorneys in Georgia, but you've been after this for some while now. So I'll get with him tomorrow to make sure that he either gets back to you or tells me why he will not, and tells me what to do from a legal standpoint as he sees it. So we'll be back in touch with you. Okay.
For the record, and I did forward the information along with Mr. Metters, I don't know who all has seen it. I believe that Gwinnett County was sued for such policy, and I think that they lost the case. And it was
You sent that to me, and I think I forwarded that to Dr. Matthews and copied Samantha Fury, did I?
You sent it to me. I have.
I can't remember.
But that's one of the reasons we want to get legal counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Chair, Board of Education,
Welcome.
Dr. Matthews. I'm here tonight to address on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and our board comments that Mr. Metters wrote in his article dated August 21st in the Newton Citizen. And let me say up front, this is Mr. Metters and I had a very good, long, candid conversation. So the things I'm bringing to you tonight are not something he has not heard. They're certainly not an anonymous post. Anything I say, you know where to find me, and we can have this conversation in much greater detail. Before I address specifically the article, a few points of detail to kind of frame it. Jeffrey Dorfman presented numbers to the Leadership Collaborative recently about tax revenue in public institutions and the receipt of those. And this is in the context of business and industry. When business and industry pays a tax, currently for every dollar of services received from business and industry, they pay $3.09 out. Catch it? Business pays $3.09 for every dollar of services rendered back to them. Residential property owners such as myself who live in Newton County who have 4 kids, and that includes school taxes, by the way, in that 309. Residential citizens such as myself live in the county, have children in the county school system. For every dollar of tax I pay, it costs school system, county, municipalities $1.29. So I pay $1, but it costs $1.29 for me to actually live here and function here. And my point in bringing that up is you see the lion's share of tax burden is paid by industry and business owners. And the school board, probably more so than anybody else, more than the city and the county, is the recipient of that tax dollar, and probably has the greatest to gain from a budgetary standpoint in the success of what the chamber does in regards to economic development and recruiting. A couple other details. We know that 50% of our age-eligible workforce in Newton County commutes from out of county in. So if we're sitting on 11.3 unemployment rate, 50% of the current jobs in Newton County, specifically manufacturing industry, are being filled from out of county. So we have some opportunity to capture there in terms of our growth, our workforce, and such. We also know, non-scientific straw poll in our relationships with industry, that probably 80 to 85% of executives that work in industry and business live outside of county. And the conversations that we have with them as to why boil down to two key issues. First is education, and this is not new. We've talked about this in our targeted industry study that we reported back on. And it's not just the education system, it's also opportunities that they see and how executives view those opportunities. But the second is retail and services, entertainment services. And that's a whole nother story, but it ties in at the end of the day. So that's why those facts and figures are why a recruitment and a success like a Baxter coming to Newton County is so significant. With one average wage of $60,000, we more than doubled the per capita income for a Newton County resident. That's significant to you in your seat because that is, you see the impact of a free and reduced lunch at that wage. You see the impact of a parent at that wage who has the ability and flexibility and such to be on that PTO, to run for school board, to be an engaged parent. Y'all know those discussions much better than I do. Now, that in its context, let me address the conversation that Mr. Metters and I had as to why the article regarding the Joint Development Authority communities was so harmful to the efforts that we're pursuing.
But it wasn't an article, it was an opinion piece.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Your opinion piece, why that was so harmful. Opinion as it was. First and foremost, when you picked out the data that you used, Newton County was pitted last in every one of those categories. That's a fact based on the data that you used. But we know, and you know, and this body knows that there are 3 years worth of positive trending data, 3 years of incredible successes that this school board, that Dr. Matthews, that every teacher, every administrator is busting their tail day in, day out to do. And we see it, we get the emails, we've got every piece of yellow is positive trending data year over year over year. Now, I know that the data that you pulled was accurate.
It was fiscal 11.
I understand that. But the point is, there's plenty of data that you could have chosen that didn't pit Newton County at last place in every category. And the reason that that is harmful and that hurts the efforts, not only of the chamber, but if I'm sitting in the seats of your board members, you put a knife in my back. Because they're busting it every day to provide a system and a structure that this school system can succeed in. And every teacher and administrator who's in the school who read that and said, why do I even do what I do if my Board of Education members' opinion is of that? Because when you ask the question, after listing all that data that says, where would you live if you were located in Newton County or moving to this area? As a Board of Education member who sits in District 1 where Baxter is located, as an employee of GPC whose school is located in that district, you're not asking a question. That is a statement of confirmation that you do not support or believe in the efforts that you guys are working on. And the reason that takes the knees out from under the chamber's efforts is we work not only to recruit industry, we also work to recruit executives. Every single one that locates here, we are trying to get them to live here. Because it's one thing to take ad valorem tax, it's another thing to take $60,000 of discretionary money and put it in school supplies, in clothing, in retail, and those things. And so from that standpoint, that was really a dangerous piece. And I've told you that, and we've talked about it. But here's what here's my position. Here's what I would ask of you. One, first and foremost, I'd ask that you quit writing the article, the opinion piece. Because as I see it, and I've had these conversations with the Newton Citizen and Alice Queen, as I see it, I don't see any positive that comes from it. Your articles, the few that I have read, I would, if you're going to keep writing, I'd encourage you to bring solutions or highlight the positive trending. But I would ask, and especially in light of your current legal situation, that you just refrain altogether. I see no good that can come out of anonymous posts that come after the fact of your pieces. Second, highlight the good. Highlight the good. Every opportunity. There are so, this story right there from
you argue that you read a few.
Excuse me, Mr. Meadows, let him finish his presentation, please.
But from what we just saw for West Newton tonight, awesome, awesome, incredible stuff. That's gold. You know what? People want to hear that stuff. They know that the system's broke. They know that we're seeing good things. They know we're seeing positive stuff. Let's highlight it. Every chance we get, let's highlight it, let's highlight it. I'm going to leave as part of my trying to bring solutions. I'm going to give this book to Mr. Chairman. It's called Switch. It's How to Create Change When Change is Hard. Fascinating book, but he highlights one of the concepts in here is what he calls bright spots. When you have a bright spot in an organization, chase it. Showcase it. Here's what he says, and catch the question, because you guys get these questions all the time. It says, to pursue bright spots is to ask the question, what's working and how can we do more of it? Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet in the real world, this obvious question is almost never asked. Instead, the question we ask is always problem focused. What's broken and how do we fix it? You have solutions in your system right now that are working. You know it. You know it. Different schools that are doing great things, others that aren't. Do not preach to the lowest common denominator. Raise the standard. Find who's doing, where the bright spots are, and keep highlighting. And last but not least, do not blame the paper. Listen, as a Chamber of Commerce, free market guy, the paper makes money doing what they do. They're going to allow anonymous posts, whether on this opinion piece or anything else. Your job as a Board of Education is to not give them information to write about. They're going to keep writing it. That's their deal. They want anonymous posts because the more clicks on that website, the more times they sit down with an advertiser and say, we've got so much traffic coming to this website. Look at this traffic. Don't you want to advertise with us? That's their model. I'm not going to fault them for it. Your job, my job, City Council, public service is not give them reasons to write. And so from that standpoint, that's why I would ask respectfully that you would cease. And if you move forward, to continue to highlight the positive things that are happening day in, day out. Because together, in our economic development recruiting and eventual recruitment of executives, I believe we've got great teamwork. We've got a great system that's going on. You guys are knocking it out of the park. You are turning around a battleship in the middle of the ocean. It's awesome. And we're your biggest cheerleaders, and we'll continue to be. I'll hold.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to express and share your views and concerns about the performance of the Newton County school system. We do have an awesome job ahead of us, but I have to use a term now. You've knocked it out the ballpark tonight. Thank you. Any comments from any other members or anything?
I just have one comment, Mr. Chairman. If you
Sure.
I guess the one comment I would have comes from the considerable feedback that I've received vis-a-vis the article that Mr. Hall referenced, that Mr. Metters authored. And I guess from my standpoint, not just as a citizen, but as a school superintendent, and I may have shared this with Mr. Metters in some prior discussions, when you compare the 19,000 students in Newton County to much smaller school districts, much different demographics, Jasper, Walton, Morgan, I grant you they have their bright spots. No question about that. But I hardly think that those three systems combined approach the number of kids that we have here, much less the number of challenging kids that we have here, in addition to the very large number of high-flying academic students that we have here. So I could be wrong, but my opinion is it's an apples to oranges comparison. We're a very large school district compared to Jasper, Walton, and Morgan. And I just don't think you can really make a fair comparison. But that's just my opinion. I wanted to offer it. There are a lot of folks who have commented to me about this particular piece. That's what I've said to them. And in short, why I want Mr. Metters to hear it, because I don't want to suggest something that I wouldn't tell him to his face.
Thank you. Dr. Mathis?
No, I'd like to make a comment.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Hall, first of all, thank you for coming. And this is to the teachers, the administrators, everybody who work in our school system. Regardless of the negative things that you see, I want to let you know that we really appreciate what you do, the strides that you've made over the years. They're not gone unnoticed. I promise you that. The Board of Education, as well as other entities in the city and the county, we have a responsibility to work along with the chamber to make sure that the good things are told about our county and our city. And I'm committed to make sure we always project a positive image, not hiding anything. Yes, we do have some shortcomings, but we're working on those, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So my suggestion for anyone who wants to blog or anything like that, come to us with solutions. Be willing to sit down at the table and discuss things, because we accomplish nothing just by this rhetoric going back and forth with not anybody coming together to try to come up with a solution. But that's what I want to say, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Board Member Turner. We'll move to, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I needed a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Pose the same sign. Now we'll go to the superintendent's report. And Dr. Carpenter?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and board members. We'll begin by offering our financial report. The financial statement for the month ending August 31st, 2012 is linked to your agenda. You'll note that we're 16.67% of the year complete, and our total revenues are at 3.69%, and our expenditures at 4.5%. We have only received a small amount of local property tax revenues. However, the first installment of our property tax bills is not due until later this month, the month of September. I'm sure many of us know that. And this year, the county will continue to send those tax revenues to us weekly via electronic funds transfer, and we appreciate them for implementing that program about 4 years ago. Salaries and benefits for July and August for 10-month employees, and for July for 11-month employees, are accrued into the prior fiscal year, so you won't see that reflected in our QBE revenues, as most of our July and August QBE revenues are applied to these salaries and benefits so that they have been accrued in the year in which the services were rendered. Some of our expenditures may look greater this month, as we must pay those expenses associated with insurance and software licenses at the beginning of the year. But take a look at our ending fund balance. Our ending fund balance for fiscal year 12 is $18,649,336, which is $4,552,805 more than originally projected. Revenues exceeded projections by $3,182,874, and that was mostly due to property and other local tax collections, while expenditures were less than projected, $1,369,931. So we had a good year, being very, very conservative in FY12, thus the ending fund balance. On another note, our audit is finally finished. We like to see them come and we like to see them go. But again, we had a good report, and that report reflected no findings. So we appreciate our business office and that group that worked so hard to provide them with the information they needed to produce another stellar audit report. On a final note, our open enrollment period begins August 9th. That'll be before our next regular meeting. So I wanted you to know that that was on the way. We don't have the rates yet, but we're hearing that there will be an increase in most of our health insurance rates, and we're also hearing that deductibles and co-pays will probably increase as well. Once we have those figures in a couple weeks, we'll send them to the board members as an FYI. That concludes our financial report unless there are questions from board members.
Any questions from the board members, comments? Go to the next one, please.
Yes, sir. Our operations report. Look at our SPLOS collections for August, $917,581. That's an increase of only $6,079 from our July collection. But total SPLOS 3 received for the first 31 months is approximately $26,780,444, and that's averaging a little over $800 or almost $864,000 per month. If you compare that with SPLOS 2, it only averaged $830,490. So those SPLOS dollars are higher than they were over the entire collection of SPLOS 2 so far. Look at our maintenance department. They're very, very busy with beginning of the year work orders. We have 1,273 work orders that have been requested in August of 12, and 1,024 have been completed with 249 outstanding. We're excited about the work at Newton High School. We continue to have project meetings, and you'll see those pictures there as the outside is 100% complete, and now we're working on the inside of that facility. Also, our procurement department is in the process of beginning to purchase furniture, so we're on track with Newton High School. Barring any unforeseen instances, we'll be ready to go by the month of May. So that's what we're shooting for, is the month of May. That concludes the items, Mr. Chairman and board members, that I'd like to highlight unless there are questions from the school board.
Any questions from the members?
I have one question.
Go ahead, please.
It's concerning the new Newton High School.
Yes, ma'am.
And I guess this is, if you're facing or standing in front of the school, I guess it would be north of the school, fencing for that area. Will there be a fence for that area, like separating the school from the neighborhood that's
Yes,
behind?
we've been in some conversation with a board of commissioner that represents that district, and she's had some conversation from some property owners. So we have a meeting on Thursday, I think at 3 o'clock, to look at that along with a couple other contingency items.
Okay.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Cobb.
All right.
Curriculum and instruction, Mrs. Fury.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Matthews. The curriculum and instruction technology report, if you look at item number 2, school administrators and professional learning teacher leaders attended a workshop relative to PD 360. PD 360 provides video segments of many research-based teaching strategies used by teachers in their classrooms. The teachers view the video segments and then they respond to reflection questions and follow-up questions after the strategy has been implemented in the classroom. Within, I think it's 72 hours, the PD 360 sends the teachers an email and asks them follow-up questions relative to the implementation. Item number 7, Mr. File has been working with our Title I schools to assist in the development of each school's technology integration plan. The plan addresses areas of, identified areas of concern and clearly aligns those with professional learning. In addition to the workshops, Mr. File has led after-school professional learning that addresses technology and integration, such as effective use of active boards, effective use of the all of the different tools and of technology that we have in place to this day. Another piece of information that has taken place as a result of all of the curriculum mapping and unit writing that has occurred across the system with the implementation of the Common Core in English and mathematics. Teachers who actively engage in using technology and integrating are sharing those items and posting them so that other folks have the, right at their fingertips, the availability of using what's been created by their colleagues. Number 9, August has been a really busy month for training for the upcoming and for assessments that have already taken place. You'll see that there have been a variety of sessions, including ad hoc, which we use the ad hoc feature of Infinite Campus to help us extract data that we're looking for relative to anything that we're trying to figure out. The Iowa, the cognitive test of basic skill, or the cognitive test of basic skills, the COGAT, the cognitive abilities test. I'm crossing the bossy in there. The Georgia alternate assessment and the high school graduation tests. Mr. Berry and Ms. Fenley attended a workshop for tribunal hearing officers, and the workshop provided information relative to Georgia and federal law and best practices when conducting tribunal hearings. We try to keep our hearing officers current with the latest things that are going on. Dr. Thomas and Rebecca Reeves have conducted data digs with the Title I schools during the month of August, and what's been really helpful to our schools is the integration of the College and Career Readiness Performance Index, and they've actually looked at school data and done some projection as to how they would perform given that index. So that's been very, very beneficial to our schools. The positive behavior intervention and support has been implemented in all of our middle schools and Newton High School, with some of our other schools quickly signing to participate. Each school's PBIS team worked diligently to prepare for their students as they began the implementation this school year. Donna Hooper and Christine Peebles, who coordinate the effort, meet monthly with all the teams to review progress and provide continued support. Interestingly, Flint Hill has initiated their own PBIS plan and created a really great informative video about their PBIS plan, and they will join, we hope, the PBIS initiative for the system in the future. We have two schools who currently use the PBIS process, Middle Ridge and Porterdale, and they continue to do that. In all, we have 9 schools using positive behavior intervention and support. It's just a different way of intervening when behavior interferes with students' abilities to learn. Great news, Newton High School has been selected to present at the STAGE conference in Dublin on September 12th, and Newton will be talking about the implementation of PBIS in a high school, which is really hard to find those sorts of implementations. So we're really proud that Dr. Lockhart and his team have been selected to participate. The Special Ed Curriculum Lab has been open and very busy. Teachers utilize the lab to prepare things that they need for their classrooms, bulletin boards, manipulatives for math and science. And the lab averages 10 to 15 teachers each day and is open until 6 o'clock on designated days. The lab is staffed and funded by federal special education monies. And finally, Eastside's high school's technology renovations are complete. Eastside is now connecting to the board office at 10 gigabyte bandwidth, the same speed as NCCA and Flint Hill. Indian Creek's middle school's technology renovations will be completed by September 15th. Oak Hill's renovations began in late August, and the renovations will be completed in mid-October. The next schools to receive renovations are Mansfield and East Newton, just to keep you current about where we are with those renovations. Those are the items that I would like to highlight, unless you have any other questions.
Is herd mixing in that, or did you say it? I
Did not see herd mixing in here.
Or are they already updated?
Dr. Shadow
would know.
Herd mixing they had those renovated several years ago.
Okay.
They are at the level that the newer schools are at.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Sure.
I'd like to request, if possible, and I guess this wouldn't, well, I guess across the board for all grade levels, if we could have some sort of report done by the teachers who are working on the curriculum maps. And it doesn't have to be all the teachers, just some representation. I've just been hearing some of the flaws and trying to get things ironed out and stuff going to the Common Core. So if possible, if we could have a report of that whenever you see fit, so we'll know some of the things that they've been struggling to kind of identify.
Okay. Absolutely. Moving to the Common Core has been no small challenge, definitely. It's just a different way of doing business, and it's certainly a different way to attack things as well, and lining up resources and trying to map everything out for the year. So it's definitely got strengths and weaknesses, and it's one of those things that you begin, and then as you move through, you reflect and revise and revisit. I will say that I feel pretty good about our position as a system relative to the Common Core, given the mistakes and flaws and corrections that need to be made. Just knowing what's going on from behind the scenes and knowing the implementation, the decision that we made with Springboard as well I think has really positioned us to be in a good place with the rigor that's required for the Common Core. So absolutely, I just give you that little bit of information. It is definitely a big task to undertake.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I mean, it definitely is rigorous, and it's a lot of being taught at one time, and a lot of teachers, I think, are not used to that. And then it's kind of determining, well, we used to do just this unit during this time span of the year, you know, part of the frameworks, but now we're doing all of this at one specific time, so
Yep,
if I could.
Yep, we'll put something together that will outline and sort of highlight where we are.
Yeah.
And get back with I don't know if we could do a presentation, maybe that would be helpful, just to show process, procedure, and where we are, and kind of give you some background information.
Thank you.
We'll be happy to do that.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, we have a presentation on after-school program, Central 21.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm presenting the results for our 21st Century program, but it's about 80 pages of information that I'm going to try to squeeze into 17 slides. So just bear with me, it's a lot of information, but as usual, I'd like to just kind of highlight the presentation with pictures of the students so you can kind of see some of the things that they've done throughout the year. Again, these are our 21st Century 2011-2012 results. Should have had a clicker, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, please. Our program is in line with the district's 4R approach. We believe wholeheartedly in relationships, relevance, rigor, and results. Our focus is that we want to provide a variety of activities that enrich the lives of our students and helps them achieve academic success. So first of all, we focus on relationships, which is a huge part of our program and what we really look at as a major part of our success. We believe that relationships, in our program, we build a mentoring component into everything that we do. So we serve students that are having a few challenges, students that did not meet standards on the CRCT, did not pass ELCT or high school graduation test. We are serving kids that are in need of remediation and credit recovery, as well as students that have been retained for many reasons. Students that are exhibiting at-risk type of factors such as truancy, disruptive behaviors. Certainly we serve the special needs population as well. But one thing about 21st Century is that we want to make sure that we are not forgetting the family, because the family is a key component to our success. So that's another aspect of who we serve. Our demographics, as you see there, we have 2 separate grants that I'm reporting on. Our first grant is Liberty, Biddle Ridge, Porterdale, and Washington Street. Our target was to serve 250 students. For the year, we served 346, with 295 of those being regular attendees. Had a pretty almost even population as it relates to female and male. We had mostly African American students, had a few Hispanic as well as white students, and then a few that did not report their ethnicity. Had 10.2% special needs students that were a part of the program, and then a great number of them were classified as economically disadvantaged using their free reduced lunch status. In our second grant, which is Indian Creek, Newton High, and West Newton, we were targeted to serve 175, and we served 239, with 192 of those being regular attendees, meaning they attended the program consistently 30 or more days. Interestingly enough, we had, for the first grant, we had more female, and then the second grant, we had more male to come to that population, to that program. 81.8% of them were African American, 4.2 Hispanic. We had a few Asian students that were in the program, 10.4% white, and then 3.1% did not report. And 6.8 were special needs students, and then 91.7% were what we classify as economically disadvantaged. So looking at relevance, why do we do this? What I did was pulled out 2 pieces of research that talks about why we do after-school programming. The first one was done by University of California, and it talks about regular participation in high quality after school programs and how it makes significant impact in standardized test scores, as well as reduction in behavior issues for particularly students who are your disadvantaged students. The second one is a study that was done of 21st century programs, and it highlights just some of the results that they see when they calculate the math grades and the English grades in students that take part in the 21st century program. So as you see, as I begin to talk about the results, you'll kind of see where we line up with what they found nationally for the 21st century program in terms of results. Rigor, what services are offered and how do we offer them? Our first goal is to improve performance in core academic areas, and we do that by providing additional instruction, tutoring, a lot of individual tutoring as well as small group. We assist students with homework. Our second goal is to develop in them a sense of responsibility and appropriate behavior, work habits, and so through providing character education programs and different type of enrichment opportunities, leadership skills, talking to them about choices and consequences. Those are the types of things that we use to help us develop in the students a good sense of responsibility and appropriate behavior. The third one is opportunities to participate in the arts. One thing that we know about students that we serve is that they don't get the opportunity to attend a lot of the events that we normally would. We've been able to take kids to the symphony, we've been able to take them to the aquarium, to lots of things that they ordinarily would not. We had children that we took to the Legoland that had never been in a mall before. And that was an eye-opener for our staff to know that we had children that had never been in a mall. So they had that experience, and so that's a part of what we do as we are trying to make sure that we're exposing them to the enrichment, giving them the extra enrichment and exposing them to the arts. And then our families, which again is very key to what we do. We know that a lot of times when they're economically disadvantaged students, their parents may not be as active as we would like for them to be. So we want to make sure that we're pulling them in, we're getting their support, we're helping them to understand that not only do we want you to be involved, we want you to be engaged. And that's a big difference. And so we explain the importance of their role and how it means, what it means to our success. And then my little statement that I always say is that with after school, we know that we have to teach, we have to provide the instruction, but we can't provide it the same way. We have to teach in a different way. And so this is how we teach focus and concentration. You see that we have a young lady there that is highly focused on crossing that beam and making sure she gets there successfully. And then we have students that we want to work on their discipline and choices and consequences and following directions. And so this is how we teach that. These are just examples of how we teach that in after school. So I just wanted to share that with you. So looking at our results, accountability we know is vital to what we do. And so we have specific measurable objectives that we have for both grants. And I wanted to highlight grant 2 first, because first year of the grant, we keep our percentages sort of low because we don't want to fail in year 1. We want to make sure that we can build. And as I begin to talk about the results for grant 1, you'll see that our numbers have increased as far as what we say we're going to do and what we expect our results to be. We do step up a bit. So objective 1 looks at our CRCT scores in reading and language arts. And we were very successful in meeting this stated objective. Our objective was that 45% of our students will meet or exceed state standards, and 86% met or exceeded the standard in reading, and 86% exceeded in English language arts. Our second objective was 45% of our students looking at their grades. We want to make sure they show improvement or maintain their grades. And we also met that objective. 75.7% 75.7% improved or maintained satisfactory grades. Okay. Objective 1C, 45% of our students will meet or exceed state standards in math. NCSS also met that objective. 60% of our students met or exceeded the programmatic objective in math. Objective 1D, 45%, again looking at classroom grades in mathematics. We met the stated objective. 80% of our students improved or maintained satisfactory grades. Objective 1E, 55% participating in the high school credit recovery program. We met that stated objective. 84% of our students earned credits in 39 courses. Objective 2A, 65% of students participating in the program will demonstrate improvement in homework completion, and this is measured by our day teachers. The day teachers are giving a survey to which we have no involvement in their responses, but they give us the information to be able to measure these particular objectives, to let us know if the children are behaving in class as a result of participating in the program. Are they turning in homework on time? Are they interacting appropriately with their peers? Things like that. They give us feedback, and so that's how these results are measured. Objective 2A, 65% of the students participating in the program will demonstrate improvement in homework completion. We met that stated objective. Teachers reported that 65% showed improvement in turning in homework on time, and 69% improved in completing homework to their satisfaction, to the teacher's satisfaction. Next objective is 65% participating in the program would demonstrate improvement in class participation. Also met that objective. Teachers reported that 71% improved in class participation. Objective 2C is 55% participating in the program will demonstrate improvement in behavior or continue good behavior. And for that objective, we also met 59% received positive reports from their teachers regarding their classroom behavior. Objective 3A, 45% elementary or middle school students in the program will meet or exceed state standards in science. We wanted to focus more attention on science this year, so we did a lot with STEM, and so trying to incorporate a lot of STEM initiatives into the program. And we did have 45.1% that passed the CRCT in science, so that objective was also met. 3B, 85% of the students will report an increased appreciation of science, the arts, recreation. The students actually give us feedback on that to let us know if they are understanding, have a better appreciation of the arts and what it can do for you as far as your education. And so 92% reported increased appreciation of activities related to the arts and recreation and physical fitness. The next couple of objectives focuses on parents and their engagement. We said that we would offer a minimum of 5 parent activities. We successfully were able to offer 17 family literacy and enrichment activities. And so that objective was met. Objective 4B, 75%, this is the one that every year we have the problems with. 75% of our parents and guardians will attend at least 2 parent education meetings. So although we offered 17 activities, we still did not get 75% of our parents to come to 2 meetings. So that one is definitely has been a challenge from the very beginning. We've had better results, as you'll see in Grant 1, we had a little bit better results there, but it continues to be a challenge to get those parents to come. So we'll keep that there again and shoot for it again. Again, just coming up with different ways of getting parents to come to those meetings. West Newton was the only site that met that objective. They did have almost 90% of their parents that came to the meetings. Most of their meetings, as a matter of fact, more than 2. Objective 1A, this is Grant 1. And this is the grant that was involving Middle Ridge and Porterdale and Washington Street and Liberty. Our objective was, again, the objective in grant 2, the percentage was 45%. So notice now we're up to 75%, and that is because this is a 3-year grant. So as the years go by, we increase, we raise the bar to make sure that we're challenging our staff, we're pushing our students, and also because we retain the kids and we get to continue the work and have some continuity in services that we're offering. So we're able to raise the bar because of being able to continue the work that's being done with the kids. We said that 75% of the students will meet or exceed standards on CRCT and reading language arts. We had 86.7 that met or exceeded in reading and English language arts. Second objective, 60%. We're looking at 60% that would meet or exceed the standards on CRCT in math, and we had 71.5%. So we met that objective as well. Objective C, 60%. Participating will show improvement in grades again. We met that stated objective. 83.1 improved their grades and improved or maintained satisfactory grades. Objective D, 1D, 55% students participating in the program will show improvement in grades again in mathematics. We met the stated objective. 78.8% of our students improved or maintained satisfactory grades in math. And objective 2A, looking at the homework completion. This is again the one that the teachers complete, that the day teachers give us feedback. What we said was that 80% of the students participating will demonstrate improvement in homework completion or complete homework to their satisfaction. We did meet that objective. Teachers reported that 83.3% showed improvement in turning in homework on time, and 85% said that it was to their satisfaction. Objective 2B, 80% participating in the program will demonstrate improvement in class participation. We had 80% that improved in class participation, so we met that one right on the, hit the nail right on the head with that one. And then the last one was 80% of students participating will demonstrate improved behavior. We fell a little short on that particular objective. We had only 75.6% of the students that received positive reports as it relates to behavior in the class. Objective 3A, 90% of the students will report increased appreciation of the importance of science, arts, recreation. We had 95.8% that reported, and so we met the objective. Objective 4A, 5 parent activities. We were able to offer 29 parent activities. Objective 4B, parents will attend at least 2 meetings. We did not meet that objective once again. Overall, we fell a little short, increased tremendously from where we had been the last 2 years. We had 71.9% that attended 2 or more meetings. Middle Ridge, Porterdale, and Washington Street all met the objective, meaning they had more than 75% of their parents that attended 2 meetings. The only site that fell short was Liberty, and of course when we averaged it all together, we fell a little short. So 3 out of the 4 did meet the objective. Objective 4C, 50% of the parents participating in the program 30 days or more will complete a daily reading log. This is the one that we've discussed the last couple of years that we could not sufficiently measure. So we made an appeal to the state board to remove that objective, and they approved it. Objective 4D, 75% will report greatest success in working with their children as a result of attending parenting classes. And this is a parent survey. 88.3% of them reported that they felt that the events made them more successful in working with their children. And then the next 4E is 75% will report greatest success in working with their child as a result of their child's participation in the program. We also met that stated objective. 85.3% reported greatest success in working with their child because of their child's participation in the program. Here are a few qualitative findings. University of Georgia are our evaluators, and they gave us feedback as to the quality of our program. What we try to do is to make sure that we're in line with a lot of the state and national standards for operating a quality after-school program. And so we had asked that they review those items when they, as they come in and do our visits. So here are some of the findings that they gave us. They felt that our program was in fact aligned to school day academics, that we were very good at incorporating technology into our program. We use evidence-based curriculum. We offered a variety of enrichment activities. We had very good retention of our students and staff, which was a highlight of our program, especially serving high school, because we did not think that high school students would come 4 days a week, but they did. So that was a highlight in our report. We provided parents periodic written feedback as to their child's progress. We wanted to make sure that they know, just as they get a report of their day activities, we wanted them to know what we were seeing in the after-school program. So we gave them written feedback. We gave them a progress report from the after-school program so that they would have feedback from us as well. Our site directors are knowledgeable of community resources available to our families and staff, to our families and our students. We are always passing on any type of opportunities that we feel will be beneficial to our families. And so we try to stay abreast of what's going on in the community so that we're able to link them to the resources that they need. And then our family activities are designed based on our student and family needs. So we do survey them just to kind of find out what types of things they are interested in, what types of things would be beneficial to them in the way of classes or workshops. We don't want to just have something, offer something, and it's not interesting to them. The evaluator made a couple of recommendations, and the recommendations they made were that we explore ways to increase our survey return rate. We did have a few sites that did not have good rate of return for their surveys, so we've addressed that, and we will make sure that that occurs, that we have better returns on our surveys. And then re-examine ways of recording our parent attendance. One of the reasons we're thinking that we're not meeting that objective continuously is because we're not recording it correctly. And so we've come up with a way to be able to record that, so when I report next year, we should see better results. And then seek ways to formalize the feedback loop with the regular day teachers, just to make sure that we again are knowing when kids have assignments missing that we might need to stay on top of in the after school program. So again, just making sure that we have a good line of communication with the day teachers. All right. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Adams, for that in-depth report. Now we'll go to the enrollment report.
The enrollment report was captured on September 11th, 2012. Our current enrollment is 19,142, which is a difference of 67 students from the same time last year.
I have a question. I asked, I think a couple of 3 meetings ago, for a report that would reveal the number of dropouts by school, by grade.
I'll bring it. I have it.
You have it?
I don't have it
Will you share
in
that
my
with the
hand.
board at the
I
next
can.
meeting, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
It will capture the data from the last school year. We prepared it and got it all ready, and it's waiting for you to look at it and enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Old business, we have none. New business, and item A and B, that would be Dr. Carpenter.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. In item A, I think this might be one that you have some interest in. The superintendent recommends that the school system purchase 2 84-passenger buses, 7 72-passenger buses, and 5 48-passenger buses for a total of 14 new buses from Rush Truck Centers of Georgia, formerly known as Nally Motors and Trucks, located in Atlanta. In terms of background, you'll see that the Board of Education and the Georgia State Financing Commission developed a bond program to provide reimbursement to local school systems for new bus purchases. And the resources are provided in lieu of what the state used to call bus replacement funds. With that being said, the district is allotted $381,097.50 for 5 new buses at $76,219 per bus. And you'll note here at the chart that that does not cover the cost of a bus. And the school system will use SPLOST funds to cover the remaining buses. If you recall, last month we talked about the $1 million being allocated to our operations department and $1 million to our transportation department of SPLOST funds to look at these pieces in the coming year and this year. So you'll have it there. 84-passenger bus, we'll have 2. The total cost is $115, or the cost per bus, I'm sorry, is $115,667. You'll see the 72-passenger 7 at $93,135, and the 48 passengers 5 for $99,016. And one might want to know, why does a 48-passenger bus cost more than a 72-passenger bus? And those are special needs buses with the necessary equipment to provide them as such. That's item A, unless there are any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
As the 48-passenger versus the 72, I'm interested in the 84 versus the 72, and how do we recoup the $22,000 expense? How do we utilize that 84-passenger bus?
Yes, I don't mind talking a little bit about it, but Mike Barr is the expert, but we use our...
Let's bring up the expert.
Bring up the expert. Mike Barr, come talk about our 84-passenger buses.
We want it straight from the guy.
Yes, we achieved that savings through greater efficiency, using those buses on those routes with the largest number of students. High demand areas, subdivisions where they go to a single stop, and they actually make one stop and the entire bus unloads. We have stops such as that. And that way we're not tangling up 2 or 3 drivers. We can put them on those larger buses, larger capacity buses.
Okay. I know we got some long hauls from Kristen Circle up that direction, going down toward Alcova, which is maybe 12, 14 miles. Do we utilize them in that capacity?
And what was the example?
We have a long haul from the east side of the county, Kristen Circle area, to Alcova. That's an Alcova assigned zone. And are we going to utilize the 84-passenger bus in that area?
Their ideal utilization is for short runs. Those subdivisions located close to the schools that can drop off large number of students. So probably not in the Alcova zone. But it's something we could look at. If there's a specific example we could look at. Yeah. Such as, we can be happy to look at that.
Okay, do we see that we can utilize them more for our football team? We can get a lot of football players on those large buses.
They certainly work.
And I think that should be almost a directive when you...
They certainly work good in those situations, and we try to utilize them in that way also.
Okay. And the cheerleaders getting on a separate bus, and the players get on another one. I think the 84-passenger bus can reduce 2 trips now, right?
We can have those discussions, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I'm very serious about it.
Right.
We are too.
And I think we should have a reply.
Okay. All right. We can certainly look at that.
Thank you kindly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Barr.
Go to the next one, Dr.
Yes, sir. And item B, you'll look at our surplus items. The superintendent recommends declaring the items on the attached forms as no longer serviceable to our school system, authorizing the appropriate disposal of these items through a salvage company. And you have items from Clements, from Cousins, from Mansfield, Middle Ridge, Newton High, Oak Hill, the nutrition program, and our transportation division.
Any questions? Comment?
I have a question. It
Yes,
just
ma'am.
goes back to the buses.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
happens to the old buses? Like, how do we dispose of
Some of them, we put them in our reserve fleet. Those that are older and they're more trouble than they're worth, we do put them on gov deals as well, and we
I was
auction them off.
wondering, yeah. Okay.
But some, what we're trying to do is update our daily fleet with buses that are newer and use some of our older buses in a reserve capacity. On any given morning, you got about 10% of buses that aren't gonna go or driving aren't there for whatever reason, and we pull a reserve bus.
Do we have a certain amount that have to remain in reserve?
No, there's some best practices, but there's no certain amount. I think they said about 20% of your fleet, Mr. Barr. I'm trying to recall that.
We'll start.
Mhm. So we're trying to get there with some buses that are better in that capacity.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Peck, item C.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The superintendent recommends the approval of a continuation grant in the amount of $350,000 and a new grant for $500,000 for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers be approved. As I'm reminding you, the 21st Century Community Learning Center addresses needs identified by data, such as Ms. Sams showed you tonight. Growth rates, economically disadvantaged students, the CRCT, the EOCT, and the GSCGT scores, school discipline data, juvenile court referrals, and teen pregnancy and STD rates. So the program will help with academic enrichment, remediation, and credit recovery, a safe place to spend after-school hours, counseling and instruction in life, work, and study skills. Also, opportunities for parents to become more involved in their children's education.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item D, Dr. Shep.
Dr. Matthews, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen on the board. Item D refers to the renewal of service and maintenance agreements for the networking equipment. The superintendent recommends the approval of an annual service maintenance agreement for networking equipment with Infinity Network Solutions of Macon, Georgia, for $101,174. The effective date will be September 21st, 2012. I listed all the different equipment on the board items so you could see and the prices for each one. But this is our standard equipment, and we had to have maintenance service agreements on this in order to maintain them and any warranty work that we need to have done on them.
Any comments or questions from the board members? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And one quick question, when are we going to utilize our new technology room? When is it going to be ready? Any projection on that?
They're working on it, I believe, over the fall break. They're going to be moving some heavy equipment, the generators, the air conditioning units, things like that. And then they can't do that during the school day because of the students around. So they're going to be utilizing that week off to move some heavy equipment into that space.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't know who's this one. Where? Item E. Item E.
E would be me.
You got it.
Okay, item E. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board. But background information first. Per prior Board of Education direction, the administration has worked with Marvine Brooks of the Georgia School Boards Association to update the current Newton County Board of Education policy manual. As such, and as shown on the chart that follows this particular item, some policies here in this item are required, and I've listed those. Some are discretionary, and I've listed those. And some can be abolished due to other authorities such as state law and/or State Board of Education rule, or due to redundancy, and I've listed those. It is my recommendation that the adoption of the Newton County School System Board of Education policies per the GSBA provided chart, which follows the cover memorandum, be obtained tonight, or actually the meeting that follows this one, These recommended policies will be under review until voted on at the October 16th regular meeting of the Newton County School System Board of Education. And this is per board policies, sections A through C.
Are there any questions, comments? One second, please. Okay. One comment. Do we have the replacements for these items so that we can follow them?
If you scroll on down, you have each of the items referenced in the chart.
Okay, I was waiting on my screen.
You have to keep scrolling down.
It just wouldn't go down. Okay, I see it. Sorry about that.
It's a comprehensive piece.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments from the, okay. Next item, please. Dr. Carpenter?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and board members. The same process that Dr. Matthews just outlined for policy sections A through C, it's the same process we use for D through F. We've been working with Marvine Brooks, and we've looked at those policies as well, and you'll see those that are required in the chart, those that are discretionary that the district utilizes and thus we're maintaining, and those that can be abolished due to authority resting in other areas or due to redundancy. So that chart is there for your benefit, and any changes are outlined with strike-throughs and red print and that type of thing on the policies that follow. I will say this about the process. We've gone through a comprehensive policy review probably 5 years ago, and we did it ourselves. And we probably missed a lot of things, but the leadership of Marvine Brooks and the team from GSBA has been phenomenal. And I feel like as a team, we've learned more about our policies probably than we ever knew. So this has been a good thing.
Thank you very much. Item G and H, Dr. Matthews.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The next item is a resolution in support of quality public education. And it reads as follows. Whereas the Newton County Board of Education believes that a system of quality public education is one of the essential foundations of America's past, current, and future greatness. And whereas the Newton County Board of Education believes that quality public education for every child, regardless of heritage or circumstance, is the key to equality, freedom, and the realization of individual potential. And whereas the Newton County Board of Education believes that without quality public education, a great divide will exist between the educated and the uneducated, corresponding to a divide between the prosperous and the impoverished. Whereas the state of Georgia's economic condition has resulted in a significant decline in state funding for the public schools that serve the educational needs of over 90% of Georgia's public school children, and whereas over 90% of Georgia's children, and whereas this severe funding challenge has caused Newton County schools to experience ongoing increases in class sizes, fewer instructional resources, reduced compensation for teachers due to furloughs and reduced work schedules, and whereas the Newton County school system reduced its general fund budget by $8.2 million for just last school year 2011-12, eliminating teachers, programs, and other personnel and services, whereas advocates for a system of school vouchers, state-approved charter schools, and other educational options that divert public school funds away from local community schools support the operation of private or for-profit charter schools, and whereas the erosion of financial support for public education serves to deepen the inequalities and diminish the opportunities for every Georgia child to be well educated, to achieve the American dream, and contribute to this nation's greatness, and whereas the Newton County Board of Education believes that the Georgia Supreme Court ruled correctly in declaring it unconstitutional for an appointed state commission to approve charter schools over the objection of the duly elected local Board of Education, which is accountable to the taxpaying public, and whereas the Newton County Board of Education opposes the state's establishment of a separate system of state-authorized public charter schools that are funded through a funding formula that unilaterally takes critically needed funds from local public school districts and redirects them to the state-controlled charter schools, thereby further debilitating the significantly underfunded existing system of funding for public education for all Georgia students. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Newton County Board of Education urges the governor and state legislators to commit to adequately fund quality public school education for all K-12 students in Newton County and throughout Georgia, to acknowledge the countless unheralded successes of public schools in the state, to cease efforts to erode local control of public schools and to encourage the innovation, flexibility, and accountability that are necessary for Georgia's public schools to continuously improve. And be it further resolved that the Newton County Board of Education does hereby request that voters of the state of Georgia oppose the constitutional amendment relative to the state approval of charter schools, which will be on the November 6, 2012 general election ballot. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes and directs the superintendent to transmit an official copy of this resolution to the governor, appropriate state representatives and senators, the State Board of Education, and the Georgia Department of Education, the 11th day of September 2012, signed by Eddie Johnson, Chairman, Gary S. Matthews, Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Any comments or questions on this resolution?
I have one. Dr. Matthews, who drafted this resolution? Who wrote it?
This came to us from several different school systems around Georgia.
Okay.
We looked at them, and then I took it and edited what I thought was appropriate for tonight's meeting in light of our own local circumstance.
It is my understanding we should approve this tonight. Is that correct? Okay. No further discussion?
I do. I have another question. If you look at the part, be it further resolved, it's a couple of lines up from the signature and the date. The Newton County Board of Education does hereby request. Is that the right stance to take to make a request to voters to vote a certain way on a HR?
It's typical of these resolutions when it comes to elections involving schools that I've seen in my 21 years as a superintendent, and it's also resonant in the several resolutions that I've seen that have already been adopted here in Georgia.
Any further questioning? All in favor of this resolution, let it be known by the word aye. I'm sorry, anxious here. I need a motion to accept this resolution and a second.
Second.
Motion has been moved and properly second. All in favor of the resolution, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Poses the same sign.
Aye.
The resolution approved, 4-1. Thank you, Dr. Mathis. Our next item, Dr. Mathis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I respectfully request your approval of the items presented in executive session tonight.
Can I have a motion to approve the superintendent's request?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pose the same sign. Ayes have it. Any other comments or questions about any subject from any of the board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is moved and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, sir. Good job, thank you.
Well,